everybody, and welcome to another episode of Sightless Voices, Unleashing Potential. I'm Jennifer Parrish, your hostie with the mostie, and today we have a truly inspiring episode for you guys. We have Dr. Thomas Zampieri. Dr. Zampieri is a veteran, an advocate, and a leader with the Blinded Veterans Association. Tom has a remarkable story, you guys. His journey with military service, his experience with vision loss due to a degenerative retinal disease, and his unwavering dedication to supporting disabled veterans and wounded service members, and especially those with low vision. So before we get started, I'm going to start by describing the set as usual for our blind and low vision listeners. We are seated in blue chairs with wooden tables beside us. The backdrop is a white brick wall with blue lights, and a neon lighthouse sign glows above us. So, thank you so much, Tom, for joining us today. We appreciate you coming.
Oh, yes. Thank you for the invitation.
Absolutely.
And looking forward to sharing a story.
Yay. Okay, cool. Well, so let's start by, why don't you tell us a little bit about your vision loss and what led to your work with the Blinded Veterans Association?
Sure. I was diagnosed with retinitis pigmentosa, but ironically it was, after I had served in the Army for 3 years from 1972 to 1975. And after that, I had actually joined the Army National Guard after I graduated from college and started to notice I was having problems with nighttime with vision. Mm-hmm. And that was kind of the first clue that there was something wrong, because I would get lost when I was following the other soldiers out on maneuvers at night.
Right. That's a problem.
Yeah, a big problem.
That's a problem.
And so anyway, 1980, right around there, was when they first diagnosed the early changes with the retinitis pigmentosa.
We're going to kind of go back in time a little bit and talk about your military service. So what inspired you to join the military, and what roles or what capacity did you serve in while you were in the Army?
Yeah, I grew up in a small town up in Vermont, and I had a lot of uncles that served in World War II, actually 7 of them.
Oh, wow.
And I had 2 aunts that were nurses in World War II that were in the Pacific. And it had a big influence on me in the 1960s.
Sure.
Growing up, that, you look to do whatever you can for the United States and for America. And so I joined the Army in 1972, as I mentioned, and was an Army medic for the 3 years that I was on active duty. Can
you share a memorable experience or a challenging time whenever you served in the military that shaped your perspective?
Yeah, I think my interest in rehabilitation goes back to then, because we were, during that time period, the war in Vietnam was going on, and a lot of the severely wounded came back to the stateside hospitals where I worked. And so, I was an, impressionable 18, 19, 20-year-old Army medic, and here were these soldiers that were coming back with, amputations, and spinal cord. And I just felt like if there was a way that I could help them, not just when I was on active duty, but later on, I think that had a big impact on the trajectory of my life.
How did your military background influence your later advocacy work?
Yeah, actually, the other part of this was when I got off of active duty Army, I went to a physician assistant program in Philadelphia. And so I'm a little unique, I guess, as far as most patients. I had 25 years of working in surgical specialties as a physician assistant.
Wow.
So that really, I was a provider. I was doing surgery. I worked in emergency rooms. I was kind of that type A personality during that time. And I loved taking care of people. And then by the time I was about 40, though, my retinitis vision changes were really starting to impact my ability to function. So suddenly one day, after I had accidentally collided with a patient that was in a wheelchair.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yep.
I said, I've got to come to grips with the fact that I need to be the patient after all those years of, doing surgery and trauma care and everything. And that's a pretty big change. But I went in and I talked to a vocational VA counselor. And he said, what would you have done if you couldn't have been a physician assistant and an Army medic, for 25 years? Mm-hmm. And I said, well, I've always been interested in political science and history. And he said, well, why don't you go back to school and get a master's degree, which is what I did here in Houston. I went to the University of St. Thomas.
Mm-hmm, right up the road.
Yeah, I got my political science master's degree, and then I worked on my PhD in political science through La Crosse University.
Yeah.
And lo and behold, that opened up all kinds of doors in this world of advocacy.
Yeah. That's wonderful. And so going back to losing your vision kind of in the process of being a physician assistant. I used to do medical transcription and we did reports for the VA. Okay. And so I've heard about all the kinds of things, that you guys have come to deal with, and it's a lot. And then to have to find yourself in the patient role after all of that, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's pretty heavy stuff.
Yeah.
But then and it is kind of like, what do we do now?
Right.
But yeah, I mean, that's wonderful that the VA, at least some sort of career counselor was able to assist you in making that decision to move forward. Because it's tough. And I get it. I always wanted. My dad was a paramedic, so I wanted to be in the medical field too, like in some way. So that's how I did it. Was like, let me start typing reports.
There you go.
I mean, I helped, not really, but kind of.
Oh, sure. And
I did it for 20 years.
He said to me, Tom, you've taken care of, each of your individual patients one at a time, like everybody does. It's a doctor, nurse,
of course,
or PA.
Yeah.
And he said, think of it this way: if you really want to, get involved as an advocate, you can make a difference for thousands of people.
Yeah.
When you change either, like healthcare benefits or other types of programs. And that made a big difference because suddenly I was saying to myself, at first it was like, oh, I'll never be able to, what am I going to do? To, I'm going to impact the lives of not only thousands of veterans in the VA system who are disabled, but also their family members who are, struggling to deal with, their loved ones' disabilities.
Of course. Can you tell us about some of the organizations that you worked for and the achievements that you've had when it comes to advocacy?
Yes. And so what happened was I had, while I was in school, been going up to Washington, D.C. So I knew a lot of the veteran service organizations that you have all heard of, the American Legion, the Veterans of Foreign Wars, Disabled American Veterans. One of my favorites, Paralyzed Veterans of America, the Blind Veterans Association, of course, Vietnam Veterans. So ironically, I had become a member of some of those organizations because of my own military service. And I was at the Blind Veterans Association headquarters on one of my 3-day trips to Washington, D.C., and the executive director was talking to me about, again, policy issues and things that they were working on. And then he asked me, he said, "Oh, so Tom, you're an Army medic and you got your master's degree already in political science, and you worked at a couple different VA hospitals, and so you're hired." And I looked at him and said, "What are you talking about?" And he said, "You'd be perfect as a blind, Veterans Association advocate. And I'd like to offer you a position. We have a vacancy for the Director of Government Relations here in Washington, D.C.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, "I don't even have my resume with me." And he said, "Don't worry about it." He said, "Trust me, you've got, you clicked all the boxes of a successful advocate."
Yes.
And so I came home back to Houston and told my wife, I said, "Would you consider moving to Washington, D.C.?" So we did, and I was there for 9 years full-time.
Wow.
Working 5 days a week with Congress, the White House, the Department of Defense, and the VA on all the different issues, whether it's benefits for education, vocational training programs, actual blind rehabilitation training programs. And then during that 9 years, I testified 35 times in front of committees.
Wow.
Yeah.
Just a few, huh?
A few.
Just a few.
And yeah.
Wow.
And also I should throw in, I worked with, because in that community, if you want to call it that, in Washington, D.C., not only did I work with the veterans organizations, but I want to say I worked with, like the American Foundation for the Blind, the American Council for the Blind.
Nice.
Yeah. And the National Federation for the Blind. And so the blindness community, is connected with Blinded Veterans Association.
Of course.
And so there was a lot of
pollination, if
pollination?
You will.
Yeah. And we would work on issues together that were like maybe, with, congressional committees that had to do with other types of non-veteran issues.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's very cool that you worked with all of those agencies, because some of them, some of their views kind of differ. And so something like this can bring those folks together. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's obviously, to support our veterans and our wounded service members, because I can't imagine, being blind's one thing, but, to have, possibly be blinded traumatically and then have all that kind of stuff to deal with, that's a lot.
It is.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
So, wow. This is some great work. Let's go back and talk about your vision loss in some more detail. So when did you start to have symptoms, and how did you navigate your diagnosis?
Oh, it was, I think
you mentioned it, but let's go again.
The RP patients will all probably identify with this.
Yeah.
I noticed the problems mostly at night.
At night, yeah.
My eyes, quote, never adjusted to going into a dark area, or if I went out at night, I found myself famous.
Tripping over the curb?
I went into a movie theater with 4 of my friends.
Yeah.
And, of course, the lights are off, and they go and sit. They go down the aisle and get seats, and I'm standing at the door.
Yeah.
And literally can't
navigate it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And suddenly the panic starts, like, this is not right. Something else is going on. So And then the my visual fields got narrower and narrower and narrower, and which is, consistent again with RP patients. And so, and then, you get to know people with other types of degenerative eye conditions with macular degeneration or glaucoma and other things. And you can appreciate when they describe how they have their visual problems.
Yeah. What you've got. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. You said you had 5 degrees of vision. So
currently.
Is it still like, and when you look out of your pinhole, is it still, I call it a pinhole. Yeah. I've known many people with RP. That's what they call it.
Right.
So when you look out of there, is it still clear out of that little bit?
Yeah, the central vision finally, at age 70, it started to my central vision starting to get fuzzy.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so right up until really a year ago, even though I was down to 5 degrees of constricted field, my central vision with glasses, I could still like see my computer, with large font and things like that. But now I'm kind of entering that phase where, the central vision is getting fuzzier as the retina deteriorates.
Yeah. Well, that was going to be my next question was assistive technology. What do you use? And are you looking at maybe using something else, now that your vision's going?
I've sort of been, going along with Zoom text.
Yeah.
And things like that. And, I think I'm going to be doing some training with, more of the other...
With JAWS, probably. Have you heard of JAWS?
Yeah.
Okay, got it. Yeah. So if you're coming here, we have amazing assistive technology trainers here. Shout out to Rose and Steven. And they do a phenomenal job. I know them quite well. And so you're in good hands here. Yeah. Just FYI.
Yeah.
But anyway, all right. So let's get back to my questions. What were some of the biggest adjustments you had to make, either personally or professionally or both?
Oh, I think, it's like most patients who get diagnosed or have whether it's a degenerative vision loss or whether it's a, traumatic vision loss, is the acceptance of, I have to do orientation mobility training with a white cane. Yep. And getting past that,
the stigma.
Yeah. The fear. Yep. What will someone think if I'm in a crowd with a white cane? and once you get into the O&M training, and you suddenly realize people will help you.
Yeah.
If you don't have that white cane and you run into somebody, especially nowadays,
you're going to get punched.
You're going to get punched,
or worse.
So I tell no matter what the cause, when someone's struggling with vision loss, I tell them, first of all, accept help at training that's available, such as here at the Lighthouse or
wherever.
The VA has blind rehabilitation training programs, and take that step. And it's a life-changing step because I tell people you learn to do things that you didn't think you'd be able to do. Mm-hmm. And your confidence level goes up. And I travel quite a bit.
Do you go solo?
Yeah. In fact, nice. I joke with people. I've also, part of my advocacy is because of my medical background and doing surgery and stuff, I've very close affiliation with the American Academy of Ophthalmology, the Association of Research and Vision Ophthalmology, ARVO. I've been to their research conventions.
Wow.
There's something to be said about being the only person with 7,000 ophthalmologists at a national convention, and you're the only one with a white cane. But you're talking to them about all the research that they're doing.
Yeah.
And I, as an advocate, you ask, well, why are you there? First of all. And it's because they know me because I went to Congress to get additional funding for the National Eye Institute at NIH, to get funding in the Department of Defense for vision trauma research. And then I advocated for VA funding for research. So the researchers know me in that role, reading articles that I've written on, different, funding advocacy for, different committees in Congress. And so the reason I get invited to those research meetings is because of that. And not that I'm a patient. In fact, some of the ophthalmologists and optometrists, when I go to these national meetings, they're like, oh, Tom, I didn't know you're blind.
Right, and it's probably like blind.
We just know that you're up on Capitol Hill and you go, to the agencies and you've gone to the Pentagon.
Yeah.
And then they're, I guess, even more impressed because you're doing all that blind.
Right.
You're right.
And you're not wearing it like a big sign.
No.
I mean, you have to let people know when you have to, but like you're not wearing it as a sign.
Right.
So, yeah. That's wonderful.
And it also is rewarding because I get to meet with these researchers that are working on, retinal disease research or glaucoma or, corneal disease research, corneal transplants.
Yeah.
The retinal chips that people read about.
Those sound very cool.
and so I actually have this network around the country of people. Just yesterday, I was on a research committee call with about 17 different researchers, optometrists, ophthalmologists, PhD researchers. And I told them I'm not, a clinical person anymore.
Sure.
But I'm your biggest advocate, when it comes to trying to figure out ways to get policies changed or, funding, hopefully, for research.
Absolutely. And I bet they're happy to have your expertise and experience as well. So that's a good pairing, good partnership. Well, this was a great conversation, Dr. Zampieri. I'm so happy that you were able to join us today. So as we wrap up here, can you give us some final advice for veterans that are adjusting to vision loss and seeking support or resources or anything to help them gain their independence?
Yes, and that's a great way to end this. Please, if anyone in the audience listening to this, if you've got a family member who's a veteran, or if you're a veteran, or you're a caregiver of a veteran who's got vision loss, please check out the Blinded Veterans Association, bva.org, our website. It has information there, not just about us, but the VA's rehabilitation programs, and that there's 13 inpatient rehabilitation locations at different VA hospitals around the country. And then there's, like in Houston, there's a visual impairment services outpatient program. So you can get training through the VA. And it's important for people to know that you don't have to have been injured and to be eligible for care. Mm-hmm. Any veteran can enroll and seek those benefits.
Well, and I will say that it is truly inspiring to hear about your dedication to service and the impact that you've had on so many lives. So we really appreciate you telling your story today with us. So again, thank you for being here. Yeah. To our listeners, we hope you found this episode both educational and uplifting. Remember, you can find more episodes of Sightless Voices Unleashing Potential on our YouTube channel or wherever you get your podcasts. And remember, guys, your feedback for future episodes is always welcome. So please hit us up. We would love to hear your thoughts and what you'd love to see on our show moving forward. Be sure to follow the Lighthouse of Houston on social media for updates and visit our website, HoustonLighthouse.org, to learn all about upcoming programs and events and all kinds of good stuff we got planned. So there's never a dull moment here at LOH. Until next time, y'all, stay strong and stay empowered.